people are not aligned. People are wounded, confused. There are hurting souls in our community. I just believe that our humanity and compassion for each other and our love for our democracy is needed now more than ever. I have to do what I can. What I can do is to get back in that ring.
Educate, inform, inspire. The Dan Parsons Show, a podcast that lifts up instead of tearing down.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Dan Parsons Show. I'm your host, Dan Parsons. Coming up on today's show, former and possibly future Nebraska State Senator Patty Pansing Brooks. But before I get to Patty, a point of personal privilege. My thanks to our friends of Dan, the Patreon membership club. If you like this episode, be on the lookout for a bonus behind-the-scenes clip exclusively for Friends of Dan. And if you're not a friend of Dan yet, hop on over to thedanparsonsshow.com to sign up. Okay, here's my interview with Patty Pansing Brooks, candidate for Nebraska Legislative District 28. Enjoy. Well, it is my pleasure to welcome former Nebraska State Senator Patty Pansing Brooks for her very first appearance on the Dan Parsons Show. Patty, welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. It's very fun. I'm proud of the work you're doing, and it's really important work, Dan.
Well, that's very kind, Senator, for you to say that. I appreciate that very much. Well, you announced just last week that you're running. What's that?
You can call me Patty.
Okay. All right, Patty. Well, you announced just last week that you're running for your former seat in the Nebraska Legislature. So I want to dive into that and get your thoughts about you running again for that legislative seat. But before we get into that conversation, I just wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of breaking news headlines over the past weekend. It seems like this stuff comes at us so dang fast that I know our audience is interested in your thoughts on that. So let's start with, the president hosted a big military parade in Washington for his birthday. And then we had huge numbers of people across the country attending what they called No Kings protests. And organizers, I'm reading this morning that they estimate maybe 5 million people may have participated in these rallies across the country. So and the people I talked to that attended the Lincoln events and Omaha events, they said, it was a mood of defiance, but it was upbeat. There was anger, but also hope. So anyway, I just wanted to get your thoughts. Did you attend any of the events and your thoughts?
Yes, well, there were at the same time as the No Kings was also the Pride event.
Oh, that's right. Yes, here in Lincoln. Yes.
I was marching in the Pride event first, and then went over to O Street, and my take on it was joy, excitement. So I did not see the anger. I saw joy. I mean, the signs were very pointed and very, spot on about our democracy and protecting our democracy. And I felt such hope, such joy. People we're gathering and recognizing that we're all in this together. And that isn't Democrat or Republican. This is about our democracy. That's why it's called No Kings. It has nothing to do with whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. It has to do with whether or not you believe in the rule of law, the Constitution, and the 3 branches of government. That's what it's about. And I felt so proud of the people. I hope you had a chance to drive down O Street. We drove down O Street and then back after the Pride Parade. And people were so joyful and cheering. And I think people were energized by the fact that we were all together, that people could support what is important, what we've learned in our schools about what's important in our country. My dad fought in World War II. He was wounded in Salerno, Italy. And, I sit there and think, he was willing to give his life for our democracy. So when you hear a phrase like, give me liberty or give me death, That's what all those people went to do. Our veterans should be celebrated, not just for the 250th of the Army. That's important.
Yeah.
I've never seen big tanks going down our streets before. It harkened a little bit to China and North Korea, and well, that part was gave me a little angst. But what we have to remember is this is about the people that are in the Constitution. That it means the veterans. It means the people that have given their lives. It means all of the people, wherever you are on the spectrum, we are all included, and our democracy protects us all.
That's good. That's good, Patty. Yeah, that's exactly right, because there was no violence. I didn't see any display of violence, at least not here in Nebraska. But the rhetoric, though, continues to ratchet up, and it's getting to the point where it has become dangerous. The other big event, obviously, over the weekend, the horrific assassination of the Speaker of the Minnesota House and her husband, and the shooting of another state legislator and his wife. And after the largest manhunt in Minnesota history over the weekend, the suspect was finally taken into custody on Sunday night. So your thoughts on how this escalation of violence is now relating to the political tone and even down to the local level. As a former and possibly a future state senator, one of your colleagues was gunned down in Minnesota. So anyway, your thoughts on that horrific moment in Minnesota?
It's just traumatic. We are living in grueling times, and these times are difficult for everybody, no matter where you are on the political spectrum. And obviously, people that have mental illnesses are watching hateful, spiteful comments on social media, on the news, and they're determining that they need to take action. Well, I've spoken at a number of recent events lately for in different counties, talking about what we can do, how we can make a difference. And part of it is we have to quit hating each other. Hatred is not our superpower. And, anger is not our superpower. Our superpower is the ability to listen, the ability to care for one another and have compassion for one another. That doesn't mean we're all going to agree. We never will. And I've had so many people coming to me and saying, what should I do? How could I help? How could I bring this country back together? And, I talk about standing with others. And, our phrase on our currency is e pluribus unum, out of many, one. And that one is our democracy. We are all together under the mantle of our democracy. And we have got to recognize that our free speech allows speech we don't like and we don't care for. It doesn't allow violence. It doesn't allow, us to kill one another. So we have got, when I started seeing all this, I thought, what am I going to do? What can I do? And the thing that came back to me was, well, I can run for legislature again and be a voice. And probably one of the things I felt most grateful for in that legislative stint for 2 terms previously was that I have really good friends all across that political spectrum.
Yes, you do. Yes.
If you look at when I made my announcement, we released over 70 names of former and current elected officials. And in that list are Republicans and Democrats. And that's because we can make friends. And, I learned that first thing in the legislature. I was bringing a bill because we have a gay son on LGBTQ workplace equity. And I'd already made some friends on the more conservative side of that body. Remember, we are nonpartisan. And, I brought this bill and I talked to a couple of them, and one of them said, well, you just can't take this personally. that I'm not going to vote for this. And I'm like, how else would I take this? As a mother of a gay son, how would you expect me to take it? And that's the one time in the legislature in 8 years that I got teary. And after that vote, I got up, walked out to sort of get a grip. The very next vote was about driver's licenses for the dreamers, the kids who have been born here, the kids whom we have educated, the kids who are seeking to fill jobs in Nebraska. And we had a whole nother mix of people. And I couldn't stay angry at those people that voted against. And that was probably one of the greatest things I learned. Yes, there are things that we're not going to agree on, but the next issue we will agree on. We will come together. And that's important for everyone to learn and know.
Yeah. Well said, Patty. And that is your reputation. You are known as someone who is willing to reach across party lines and solve problems for your constituents. And you exhibited that, as you said, in the 8 years that you served in the Nebraska Legislature before you were term limited out. And yes, just last week, as you announced, after our friend State Senator Jane Raybould announced that her decision not to run again, she was eligible for another term. She decided, for a number of reasons, that this was a good time for her to step aside. And as reported by Zach Wendling in the Nebraska Examiner, just 24 hours later, you enthusiastically threw your hat in the ring with Jane's support. And as you mentioned, over 70 other current and former elected officials endorsed you. So, yeah, that is the reputation you have. In addition to serving before you served in the legislature, you're an attorney, a successful law practice. And so now you're going to be asking the voters next year to send you back to that district that you represented for 8 years. So why now? Why did you decide that this is the time for you to re-enter the political sphere?
Well, again, basically, people are not aligned, and people are wounded, confused. There are hurting souls in our community. And I just believe that our humanity and compassion for each other and our love for our democracy is needed now more than ever. And when I was little, we used to sit at the table and talk about democracy after my dad had been wounded and came back from World War II. That was what our discussions were about how fortunate we were, how blessed it was, blessed we are to be in a democracy. And so I just think that, I have to do what I can. And again, what I can do is to get back in that ring, and that I can be a voice for others and also try to be a good listening ear and have a good listening ear and be able to figure out how to find the best answer for all of us and not just for me. So, I think that we are stronger when we come together. And on my podium in the legislature, I always had a little sign that said kindness in your voice, because I know that if you speak in anger at somebody, you're never going to get them to be convinced to listen to you, let alone change your opinion. So it's really true that we have to be kinder to one another. We have to realize we are all hurting. We all have different perspectives. Maybe we're getting erroneous perspectives. Maybe we're getting fake news. Maybe our beliefs are based on fake news. I don't know. But we can't just sit there and say, you're a stupid idiot. Why would you feel this way? You're hurting others. Until you think the way I think, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I mean, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, we're a similar generation, Patty. And I also remember a time when things, even though we disagreed, we were able to have a civil conversation. Yeah. And for the love of everything, I just don't understand how we've gotten to this point. But, so what are some of the issues that you'll be talking about on the campaign trail as you ask voters to send you back to the Nebraska Legislature, District 28?
Well, besides kindness and compassion.
I love that we're starting with that. Yes.
Yeah, I like what you're doing too, Dan. It's really important. But it's also all of the similar things I've always fought for: reproductive rights, climate change, workers' rights, the ability of people to make their own decisions about their own bodies. I think that if the people that were fighting so hard against trans healthcare rights had anybody coming in and telling them what to do about their body, they would be, the skies would be falling. It's just the old do unto others as they would do unto you. I think it's so important for us to stand strong for those we know that are around us in our society, and be firm and strong, but not unkind, not hateful, not spiteful. So
yeah. This past legislative session, I think the theme coming out, and we're just now just a few days removed from the sine die and ending the session, but one of the themes that came out of it was.
You're saying it, but it has ended. I'm sorry, right? Yeah.
Yes, correct. Just a few days. Yes, we're done, thankfully. But one of the themes that are coming out is, again, even though it's a nonpartisan body, it was well known. It was kind of the Republicans leading this effort on at least 3 different issues of denying the will of the people of what they had asked for and demanded and voted for on ballot issues. And so, anyway, just your thoughts on this past legislative session. Again, I understand you weren't there, but if you followed it at all, your thoughts on this past legislative session.
Well, I do think it's really too bad that people thought that they should change what the people had already voted on, as if people thought they knew better than the people. I was in the body when there was the vote on the death penalty,
Yes, ma'am.
With the initiative on the death penalty, and which you were involved with, Dan.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
And I do not believe in the death penalty, and I fought against it. And again, that word fight is taken sort of in quotes. That does not mean I was fighting anybody. It does not mean that I was, denigrating anybody. I do think it's wrong to kill other people. But we didn't immediately jump back in and start changing the law that the people voted on. So nobody thinks about that.
Yeah.
We sort of sat back and said, well, I guess that's the will of the people.
Yeah. After a very public campaign, and millions of dollars were spent by former Governor Ricketts and his family. Yes, as you know, I was deeply involved in that issue on both sides. By the way, back in the 90s, I helped create that narrative that I later fought against. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. But yes, that's a good example. After the people did and speak and say, no, we do want the death penalty brought back. You're right. The legislature didn't then try to overturn the will of the people, and they honored it. So
they did. And we had already voted to get rid of the death penalty previously in the legislature. That was one of our huge issues. And that we overcame the governor's veto. So we had gone through a lot in that, but then the people spoke, so we sat back. So I don't get this part where everybody thinks they know better than the people. I think it's insulting to the people of Nebraska. Do I agree with everything? No, I don't. But I certainly don't think that it's our job to always go against and perfect in our own minds the will of the people.
Yeah. As we wrap up here in this segment, Patty, remind our viewers how they can find out more about your campaign for Legislative District 28 here in Lee. Maybe talk a little bit about the district and the geography, and then tell people how they can learn more about your campaign.
Okay, thank you. Well, you're welcome to donate at Patty Pansing Brooks for legislature.com. So we would love to have any support. A thing that worries me a little bit is people say, oh, well, you're a shoo-in, no problem. Well, the minute anybody thinks somebody's a shoo-in, that's when you got to be really nervous. So I'm a little bit nervous, but anyway.
Nervous is good for candidates. I think that's a good quality. Yes.
Yeah. So it's just, I would love to have people support. I'm contemplating, I'm really appreciative of your willingness to do this, Dan. What I want to do is have some town halls where people come and speak to me about their issues. And I don't want to just walk back in there, number one, like, well, I already know all this and I can do this without talking to anybody. I also want to listen to the senators that are there. I'm going in as a newbie. I truly believe that. Yes, I have some experience that will help, but I also want to make sure that I'm a good listener, that I sort of greet people where they are. And I don't want to be one of those people that just comes in and goes, you're lucky to have me back, and here I am. That I do not feel that way at all.
Yeah. And well, so, you've always been humble. That's a good quality. Yeah.
Thank you. But this district is, it's been very supportive of me in the past. It has changed a little bit since we changed boundaries and gerrymandered some of the district. But so I have a little bit of a more conservative corner. So I'm going to go out and visit all those darling people out there and see if I can convince them to be supportive. And if not, no problem. We'll just go forward. And, I look forward to that. Walking door to door is a little bit like exercising. It's a pure drudgery to even think about going out to exercise. But once you do, you always feel good, right?
That's exactly right. Yes.
The same thing with going door to door. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to go door to door. But then I meet all these fabulous people and it's so fun. So, and I like asking them what their issues are for Nebraska, what they're concerned about, what are their greatest worries. And so that part is joyful to me. Fortunately, I'm an extrovert, as you probably know.
Never met a stranger. Yes.
No, I'm not. So.
Well, Patty, we won't be one and done. We will keep track of your campaign as we head towards next year, and absolutely we'll have you back. But thank you for your time today, and best of luck in your campaign.
Well, thank you, and best wishes with all you're doing. It's so important. I reaching across the aisle, making sure that we're all upbeat, and I could not thank you enough for that important work, Dan. Thank you.
Hey, Patty Pansing Brooks, thanks for your leadership, and thanks for joining me on the show today. I really appreciate it. Best of luck in your bid to return to the Nebraska Legislature. Hey, thanks to the Parsons team who made this show possible. Chase Porter, executive producer. Ike Samanis, producer and graphic design. Panology Tech Solutions for their technical help and equipment. And Kim Remington, Parsons PR's Director of Operations. And my sincere thanks to each of you for your support. Hey, that's today's show. Thanks for tuning in. Now go do good things. I'm Dan Parsons.